The Andrew Lake Podcast.
Now in collaboration with Acid Quote Tees.
Feel the rhythm and
Roll up, boys and girls, friends and family, all on track to the carnival. This is the Andrew Lake Podcast. Wishing you a beautiful morning, a wonderful day. It is just so amazing to be here. I cannot believe it. This is something special. And it is that time again for the acid quote of the day. Everything means everything. There's so much in this. This is multi-dimensional. So many layers, so many meanings in this phrase. Everything means everything. Last episode, we were talking about the levels of identity development, and we discussed the images of the sort of examples of someone looking in the mirror and having that as a kind of identification, and that being self-image of how you look, and then someone watching a video of themselves and that being identification as their behavior across time, and then the moment of watching that video or watching other people watch that video and seeing their reactions, and that being the identification of who you are in the hearts and minds of other people, how you are in your community. And of course, it's a deep subject, how we develop our identity and how many different ways it grows and changes and morphs. And I wanted to extend on that. We didn't have time to talk about it last time, but this time I wanted to extend on that to point out that you actually have a rate by which how strongly you are connected to the different levels of your identity. And most people do live in these three levels of how they look, how they behave, and how other people think about them. And if you think about how many different things are poised towards facilitating that game of how you look, right? The whole cosmetic industry, all of photography, all of fashion, right? All of this is to be concerned with surface appearances. Now, of course, there's nothing wrong with it. I'm not saying that we're here to deny it. Identification unfolding is very much part of integrating. It's a process of integrating rather than denying. So nothing wrong with surface appearances, but there is just so much in how things look. And of course, we do so often get caught up and carried away with how we look and how others look. And then, of course, behavioral, well, that's huge. What people do, how they act, the things they say. That is a huge pantheon of human experience that people get caught up in and they live in. Well, we live this. You might even think, if you're so open to the vastness of how much that includes, you might think, well, what else is there except human behavior? What else is there except humans doing things? Well, there's actually quite a lot. There's quite a lot going on. And of course, the third level, this thing of what other people think, well, that's driving the entire social media sphere and the informational sphere at the moment. What do people think about you? What do you think about other people? How are you in the hearts and minds of other people? Now, if you are an evolving being, if you are developing self-awareness, if you are taking steps on the path, these three levels start to fade away. Now, it's very interesting in how they fade away, and there's many different ways in which you can transform. But essentially, basically, what happens is you get fed up with this game. You stop being so interested in how you look in the mirror or how you behave, the things you do. You don't really have an interest in what it is that you're doing. And you don't really care what other people think. You have something calling higher, something bigger, something deeper. And that is the breaking away of your identity. That is the unfolding, like a snake shedding its skin of your identity into something larger, right? You identify into something larger. And of course, that is an evolving scale. You can evolve into an identification of your awareness. You can evolve into an identification with your experience. You can evolve into an identification of a larger consciousness. And of course, it is a journey. It does take steps forwards and steps backwards, and it's ups and downs and all the times. And ultimately, we move into an identification as realization of all that is, all the cosmos. And of course, I can say to you, well, you are the universe. And you might even agree with me. And you say, well, yeah, sure, okay, I'll identify with the universe. I am everything. I am God. Great, okay, but how do I get that sense? How do I get that feeling? It can't just be a belief. It can't be something that someone tells you and then you just take on and agree with. It has to be your own journey. It has to be your unfolding. And part of this unfolding is the things that hit us, the things that break us, the things that come along and say, hey, that's not you. It's that thing you get inside the back of your mind, which is this sense that there's something fake about what you're doing. There's something fake about how you look. There's something fake about how you behave. There's something fake about worrying so much about what people think. And of course, the path involves the methods and the techniques, the processes that many people who have had these realizations have developed. This path has been walked before. This is not anything special. Well, in one sense it is special because it's not common knowledge. And in another sense, it's not special because it's been done before. And you can follow the processes. You can follow the steps. It means learning Qigong. It means meditating, doing a 10-day Vipassana retreat, which I recently did. I talked about that in the previous episode as well. And also learning awareness techniques, right? Learning perception methods, doing talk methods, having a koan, reading books on psychology, philosophy, religion, consciousness, and all that good stuff. It's a journey, it's a process, so keep on doing what you're doing. And of course, at times there are chapters when you have to pack up and move to the other side of the world. You have to take a big leap of faith. There are big bounds in this journey, but also there are little steps. There are little things that you do each day. And of course, the little things, the little realizations, well, they add up. Like, I was trying to think, like, how do I explain my experiences on Vipassana retreats when they're so big and they're such different experiences. They don't really have words for them. And I mean, my most recent Vipassana retreat was very much coloured by stoic experiencing, right? There was a very, very masculine experience to it. And then also some like funny stories or funny realizations is that like they're so small, but they just hit so hard. Like, to just give one example, I was thinking like, after the course is over, I should go and talk to some of the Indian people, because there's always Indian people in the, in these groups. And I wanted to say, I've been to Hyderabad. Do you know where that is? And then the Indian person would say, yeah, I know where that is, because Hyderabad is one of the main cities. And I then wanted to follow it up with this joke, which was, okay, you know where Hyderabad is, but where is Hydra good? And it's a cheesy joke. I know it's a pretty bad joke, but, when you've just been sitting on your ass for 10 days, almost anything sounds funny. So I was trying to think, like, how do I bring this up with this Indian guy or with an Indian person? How do I bring it up naturally that I've been to Hyderabad in natural conversation? So anyway, the course ends and it's the last day, and I go up to this Indian guy, we sit down and I say, hey, what's your name? I say, hey, my name's Andrew. And I go, where are you from? And he goes, I'm from Hyderabad. Right? And of course I was just like, whoa, you just immediately said the thing that I wanted you to say. And I said, well, I've actually been to Hyderabad, but where is Hydra good? And he sort of just like, he didn't he didn't hear me, or like he wasn't, there was no response at all. And the guy next to me was like, oh yeah, I was like, oh, I was trying to tell a joke. And the guy next to me was like, oh yeah, that's a pretty good, I got what you're saying. Pretty good joke. Yeah. But it's a good joke, but he didn't laugh. So yeah, but it's just so funny that, it hits you, this synchronicity of the exact first guy I talked to is from Hyderabad, and that had been exactly what I had been thinking about. And it's like this synchronicity, just like it's a little thing, and yet it switches something. It switches something inside. So, yeah, that's a little bit about that. Now, to get to this quote of the day, everything means everything. And I mean, this is related to these little switches, because something little, right, like a little comment to someone, actually can mean a lot. And everything means exactly that. It means the micro expresses the macro. The small contains within it the all, the large. Because everything means everything means each thing means everything, right? It means significance. It means personal experience. It means the echoing of what's going on around you in this tiny moment. And so much of what we experience on this path, on this journey, in this life is, when we look at it, something quite small, right? There's day-to-day life. You've got your small moments. You've got your train of thought, which is just, one thought at a time, and it's daily thoughts. And you've got your actions, driving your car, going to work, being at home, daily things. And you're in these places, right? You look around and there's, there might be some birds or some trees or some traffic, some buildings. It's quite small. And yet, if you really look at the meaning of it, the significance of it, and you take a moment for those little switches to occur, those little realizations, those little pops in the brain, those fresh synaptic firings, then you see that this really is everything. This really is the essence of consciousness at work. This is what's happening. I mean, this moment, how much has gone into this moment? How much aliveness is there in this illumination, right? You see the vibrancy of inanimate objects. And another thing that is sort of like this, or another image that comes to mind, is sort of like a flock of birds flying. Now, think back to when you were a child. And there would have been a moment, sometime in childhood, very early on, when you would have first noticed a flock of birds, or a block of flirts, a flock of birds. The first time a flock of birds was flying around, and you saw it and you noticed it. And of course, as a child, you think, whoa, what are they doing? How do they know? How do they do this? Why do they do this? And of course, that why and that how, that's a intuition towards meaning. That's an intuition towards significance. Now, of course, I know there probably are scientists or biologists, I don't know what you call a bird studier, someone who studies birds. I mean, I'm sure there would be a PhD somewhere on someone who's done how birds fly in a flock the way that they do. But that's not quite it, right? That's not quite what we're getting at, right? This scientific explanation of how they do it, and, it goes into the reasons why they have eyes on the side of their head and that kind of vision, right? That's why birds have eyes that are split the way that they do. It's so that they can fly the way that they do and coordinate together. And it might say something more about, birds gather in flocks because then they're keeping lookout for predators, and when they're all keeping lookout for each other, they can take turns eating the grass or eating the bugs, that sort of thing. But the significance is much deeper than that. There's something beyond all that. That's all sort of rationalization. That's explanation. That's reasoning and ideas and self-talk and a sort of putting of the mind onto reality. Deeper than that is the mystery, right? And that's what you would have sensed first time as a child. When you see the flock of birds, there's a mystery and a beauty, right? It's like, wow. There's something going on there. There's a harmony. And the harmony creates the symphony. It's the symphony of reality. And that is the meaning. That is the meaning that is much further beyond any sort of explanation that you might expect from anyone of any sort. So when we talk about meaning, we often misunderstand the meaning to be like, well, I want meaning, so I want an explanation. And that's actually a wrong assumption. Because when you say you want meaning, you really want significance to be impressed upon your being, into your senses. You want something to impress upon you in a positive way that is beautiful and significant. Just like the first time you see a flock of birds is significant to you. First time you see anything is significant to you. And somehow that wears off. Somehow that becomes a process of complexification within you that turns things into, well, you just have to make things normal. You have to live in normalcy. You have to live in a mundane. And I'm here to tell you, well, it doesn't actually have to be like that, because everything has meaning. Everything has significance. Everything has a way of impressing upon you through your senses. Anything you can smell, anything you can see, anything you can hear, anything you can sense, anything you can come close to and get a feeling in your body, right? Like getting a sense of danger, like getting a sense of the large, like getting a sense of the unknown, right? These are things that we perceive. These are things that impress upon us. And it requires us to remove the little things that get in the way. It reminds us of the fact that the little moments really do add up, like the little moment of meeting an Indian guy on a Vipassana retreat, and he says, "Oh, I'm from Hyderabad." So everything means everything. That really is the quote of the day. And I really do feel strongly about how it is that people can open to reality more. How it is that people can become in tune with the symphony that is around, the harmony that is around. And it takes practice, it takes dedication. I mean, practice is a big thing that I should probably talk more about practice. That's something that I've been thinking a lot about recently. So perhaps in a future episode, in the next episode, we'll talk about what it means to really take these steps and take the time to invest in this process, to really see it for yourself. So, yeah, I hope you're having a good day. I hope you're seeing the beauty around you. Take a look just now, wherever you are. Look around. Sense the symphony. Sense the beauty. Sense the mystery. And if you see a flock of birds, just wonder, how is it that they actually do that? I have no idea. Anyways, stay safe. Keep it real. Stay cute. I love saying stay cute. Stay cute. If you're feeling cute. Stay beautiful. Stay cozy. And we'll be back very soon. This is the Andrew Lake Podcast. Everything means everything. And when I say everything, I mean everything. Have a beautiful day. See you next time.